Hello YouTube, it's Barbara Jean. Happy New Year. It's been a while since I've been on YouTube. I've been ill with some flu symptoms for the last couple of weeks, and it was a crazy Christmas season for me. Well, it was actually pretty good despite all the sadness and things that were going on. I got to visit with some relatives, which was good. And Christmas Day was good, and except I ended up with a terrible headache on Christmas Day. I think it was actually spiritual warfare, but I got through it. And then I was sick before Christmas in November with some kind of flu. And then in January, these last couple of weeks in January, I've been ill with another flu. But then in December, I was pumped full of so many antibiotics because of my legs. So I think that probably just weakened my system, so I was susceptible to just about anything that came along. But I'm doing better. Good days and bad days, but for the most part, I'm improving. But here I am. I have a few things on my mind. I had a couple of dreams about 3 weeks back. One was pretty disturbing. I'll just take a sip of my tea. One was quite disturbing, which has led me I didn't really want to give you this dream, but at the same time I knew it was important, and I also knew that it was prophetic, and that it actually was hopeful, despite how horrible it was. I just want to give a little quick report. My twin sister, we're fraternal twins, we're not identical. My fraternal twin had a dream, a prophetic dream, and I'm not going to tell you the specifics of it, but it was very encouraging that the trials that she's been facing and under in the last several years, a few years of her life. I told you briefly about some of the things that she's been going through, but she had a prophetic dream given to her by the Lord that she would, and she's going to defeat this enemy that's been coming against her. So that was very hopeful, and that's a very good thing. So I wanted to report that God gave her a prophetic dream, which she normally doesn't get. She gets dreams, a word from God from time to time, and she said this was a very encouraging dream. When she told it to me, it was very encouraging that she was indeed on the verge of defeating her enemies. So, very good. Now, I wanted to read quite a few verses here, and to kind of go along with my dreams that I had. The first one is Exodus 12:33 through 36. And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste, for they said, We are all dead men. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading troughs being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. So this was the exodus of the Israelite people, of the Jewish people, the Hebrew people, from the land of Egypt after the night of terror of the firstborn of Egypt being slain throughout the land. And so now the Egyptian people were anxious for them to get out of Egypt, or otherwise they were all going to be dead men. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent them unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. So basically, the Egyptians basically said, here, take this, take that, take this. So gave them what they had, basically back pay for years of slavery in the land of Egypt. When the Egyptians had put them into bondage, the Egyptians were afraid of the Hebrews, and so they said, hurry up and get out, and here, take this, take that. So they just basically gave them everything, and their jewels and their gold and whatnot. So they took the spoils of Egypt. out of Egypt with them. Now, the dream that I had was, that goes along with this, was I don't remember the details. This was about three weeks ago, and I never write down anything. So just let you know, I'm just going to give you the general idea of what the dream was. And the dream was basically I was in Australia again, and those who've been with me for a while understand what that means. But for those who haven't been with me for a while at all, um, I have a reoccurring dream of being in Australia. I was in Australia in reality in my late 30s, so now my mid 50s, but my late 30s, I was there for over a year to pay off a debt um, while I was in a show. And while I was in Australia, I longed for home. And so whenever I dream about Australia, I always think about that I'm in a foreign land and I'm trying to get back home. In this dream, I was in Australia and I was trying to get home, and I knew I was going home. In fact, I did go home. And when I got home to Vancouver, where I live, um, I was concerned about my back pay. In the dream, I was worried about the money that was owed to me. Um, um, in reality, they paid me well, and I, I was able to get out of debt while I was in Australia, which was wonderful. Um, but in the dream, I was still owed money. I was still owed what I was concerned about what was due to me, and that there was monies owed to me. Basically, that was the dream. And so when I woke up in the dream, I was thinking, what could that mean? What did that mean? And this is what came to me. This verse that um, that we have been basically the land or the church has been spoiled, not spoiled, but they've been robbed from what belongs to them and what they are owed and what they're due. And so Lord is going to return that money to the people who've been robbed and stolen from by those who have kept them in bondage. So I think this is a message for the Americans, but also for the church in general. It's that God's saying that what's owed to you, what you've been robbed from, what's been taken from you, is going to come back to you. So, because like I said in this dream, I was concerned about what was owed to me. Um, so interesting. I thought that was an interesting dream. So I thought I'd go share that out there. Um, uh, then another dream. This is the second dream I had, and it was very, very disturbing. But I'm going to relate it to a few things which I found with I was going through this morning, and I thought was very interesting. Uh, I'm going to read a few verses here first, I think. This is Job 41:24. This is talking about Leviathan. Leviathan is the dragon in the book of Job, who is the spirit, the serpent of pride. Uh, Very interesting. Leviathan. He's referring to the devil, of course. The dragon, Satan. Job 41:24. His heart is firm as a stone, yea, as hard as a piece of the nether millstone, which I thought was interesting. I want you to keep that word in mind. Millstone. Uh, his heart is firm as a stone, yea, as hard as a piece of the nether millstone. This is Matthew 18 through 6. This is Jesus speaking to his disciples and to his followers. And he said, Verily I say unto you, except you be converted and become as little children, you shall neither enter into the kingdom of heaven. Whosoever shall humble himself as this little child. He had a child in front of him, and he had actually brought a child in and was holding his child in front of these disciples. Uh, Actually, let me read it again. I'm going to start from Matthew 18:2. And Jesus called a little child unto him, and set him in the midst of them. And he said, Verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, you shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Whosoever shall humble himself as this little child, the same is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whosoever shall receive one such little child in my name receiveth me. But, but whosoever shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone, there's that word again, millstone, were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the sea, in the depths of the sea. Revelation 18:21. This is talking about the fall of Babylon. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea. Where did we hear this before? Well, Jesus just talked about it. Those who offend the little ones. Those who offend the little ones should be better for them to be cast in the sea with a millstone hung around their neck than to offend a little one. And the mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone. So this is talking about this angel during the destruction of Babylon, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall this great city Babylon be thrown down, and it shall be found no more at all. And the voices of harpers and musicians and pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee, and the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more in thee. Revelations 12, starting at verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being uh, with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head. Talking about the dragon political system. And he drew a third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, to devour her child, to harm a little one. And as soon as she brought forth a child, as to rule all the nations with a rod of iron, her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her 1,260 days. Hold on. And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought with the angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. And he was cast into the earth, and the angels cast out with him. So interesting. I just wanted to bring this up. I was looking up Abimelech. I was going through some things, and I came across Abimelech. I didn't actually write that. I didn't write that one down. It was in the book of Judges, and I should have wrote down the. See if I can find it quickly. There is a huge conflict in the land of Israel with a man named Abimelech, and Abimelech. Let's see if I can find it quickly. It's called the Abimelech conspiracy, and this is in Judges 9. It's quite long and lengthy and complicated, but basically what happened, Abimelech was became king, and he was compared to God like a bramble. He wasn't a fig tree, he wasn't an olive tree, he wasn't a vine. So all the things that actually make up good things, and actually when Christ is compared to the olive branch and the fig branch and the fig tree, and Israel's considered the fig tree and the vine, which gives forth fruit through the vine. All these trees were, in this parable, were compared to um, asked to come and rule over this people in this area of Shechem in Israel, and they only managed to get this man Abimelech to become king over them, a ruler over them. And Abimelech was quite evil. In fact, he was so evil was given, I think, 70 pieces of silver, and with this 70 pieces of silver, he went and killed all his brethren, which were 70 people in total, except for the youngest, and killed them on a stone. He killed all his brethren on a single stone in this story of the Abimelech's conspiracy. And in this story, this woman, after all the people of Shechem and roundabout areas were trying to get rid of this man, or were fighting against him because they were sick and tired of him, because they knew he was evil. But there's this war and battles going on, and Abimelech seemed to be he was going to win against all these people and bring them all down. It was a woman in the story who throws a millstone, a piece of a millstone, on the head of Abimelech. And Abimelech is so full of pride that he didn't want it to be known that he was killed by a woman. Tells his servant to run him through with a sword. Let me see if I can just find it for you real quickly. I just thought this was really interesting. Let's see if I can find it now. He killed men, women, and children in this battle. Let's see if I can find it here really quickly. Judges 9 verse he's fighting against this tower. Judges 9 verse 52. And Abimelech came unto the tower and fought against it, and went hard unto the door of the tower to burn it with fire. And a certain woman cast a piece of a millstone upon Abimelech's head, and all to break his skull. And then he hastily called unto a young man, his armor bearer, and said unto him, Draw thy sword and slay me, that men say not of me, a woman slew him. And his young men thrust him through, and he died. So anyway, this curse of this Abimelech, because he slew all these 70 brethren on a single stone, basically called a millstone, he was judged, and a stone was thrown upon his head. Judges 9, verse 56. And God rendered the wickedness of Abimelech, which he did unto his father, in slaying his 70 brethren, and all the evil of the men of Shechem did God render upon their head, and upon them came the curse of Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal. So very interesting. I thought this was kind of a strange thing, in that Leviathan is described as having a heart of stone, like a millstone. And that this judgment that comes upon Babylon is that of a millstone being thrown into the sea. And it's because they were harming the little ones. Now, why am I telling you this? It's just that I thought this, like I said, I was looking at this and thought how interesting this was. And also that the pride of Job, the Leviathan, God speaks to Job about Leviathan and his pride. Well, that was what Job's ultimate sin really was the sin of pride. That he had a heart of stone, and it was like unto a millstone. And that pride comes from the father of pride, which is Leviathan, which is what's going on right now in our countries. Just a side note, I'm very disturbed about the land I live in Trudeau. You see, he said some things about the pro-lifers just recently that were just horrible. Please pray for Canada, please. You saints out there, please pray for Canada, because as long as we have this evil puppet, New World Order puppet in the government of Canada, we're in big trouble. So I ask that you just pray for Canada and pray against this evil that we have in our government right now. Trudeau is not a good man. If he can be converted, well, God bless him, but I don't see it happening. But please pray for Canada. Okay, so the dream. Why am I bringing this up? Because I had a disturbing dream. And now remember, Revelation chapter 12, the woman defeats Leviathan, defeats the spirit of pride, defeats that serpent that's waiting to devour the child that she's getting ready to have. Okay, this is how the Lord is showing me that when the church defeats the spirit of abortion, defeats the spirit of pedophilia, defeats the spirit of Baal, which is what ultimately this spirit, the ultimate high place, the spirit of abortion is the spirit of Baal, Moloch, these evil spirits that are in our land that are devouring our children. That is the sign that we have defeated Babylon. And it's interesting. I'll just another side note here. I was thinking how interesting it is that in order to bring down a giant, you have to throw stones. That's just the way it is. In the book of, when you're thinking about David and his defeat of Goliath, he didn't pick up a sword. He didn't pick up a gun. He didn't pick up a cannon. You have to throw stones at giants. You have to throw stones. That's how you defeat your enemy. The enemies of Jesus tried to stone him on several occasions. They tried to stone Jesus, but they couldn't do it. They can't bring him down because even in the spirit realm, they know the only way to bring down a giant is to throw stones. We Christians don't want to throw stones. We are taught to be kind and loving and good, but we're going into a new era, people. We're going into the era of ruling with a rod of iron. We're going from the dispensation of grace into the rule of rod of iron, which means that you have to be not turning the other cheek anymore. That era of turning the other cheek is not going to happen anymore. That was for a time. But now it's time of ruling with a rod of iron. And this, because, why? Because these evil spirits of Baal and Moloch have, have, have offended our little ones, have offended our children. And it is better that they be hung with a millstone and thrown into the sea, which is what's going to happen to Babylon. They will be hung with a millstone and thrown into the sea. Revelation chapter 18. The angel that is standing in judgment over Babylon. And the mighty angel took up a stone, like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall the great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more. So this is the same parable that Jesus gave about those who offend a little one. It'd be better for them to be hung with a millstone and cast into the sea. So I guess what the Lord is showing me is that we are getting to that place where we are no longer going to be offending the little ones, and that the rule of iron, the rule of when the woman in Revelation chapter 18 gives birth, there is a new dispensation, the rule of the rod of iron. Remember all my little figurines? My 7 little figurines? Each one is holding a baby. Each one of these is holding a baby. When each one of our sister churches have come, excuse me, I just something fell off my shelf there, come into their own and defeat their enemy on every level, have overcome the enemy on every level that they're supposed to, defeating Jezebel, defeating the Nicolaitans, who God, let me just read quickly about Nicolaitans. That's Revelation chapter 2. This is the church of Pergamos. Um, um, the spirit of Balaam and the Nicolaitans. So thou hast also them that hold the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, which things I hate. Also, a church of Ephesus, the spirit of the Nicolaitans, or that. I guess I told you before. God showed me Santa Claus when when I was asking him about what are the Nicolaitans. Revelation, this is the church of Ephesus. But thou hast those that hated the deeds of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate. So he mentions the Nicolaitans twice in these 2 churches, the church of Ephesus and the church of Pergamos. And why did he mention Santa Claus to me when I asked him about the Nicolaitans? That is pedophilia. It is the spirit of pedophilia, of putting children and offending the little ones. Why the Lord showed me this was because one day I was watching the television, and I had on I was watching one of these little pageants. I haven't seen it in years. Thank God. I don't know whether it's still on. These pageants that they have, these little tiny ones, little 1, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 7-year-old little girls, all dressed up like prostitutes, all made up like prostitutes, and gyrating for all these people, and it was horrible. But as I was watching this, I heard the Lord distinctly say to me, I hate this. I never forgot it. It was so clear. It was clear as a bell. I hate this. And then, of course, I turned it off immediately, but I had to think about what was it that the Lord was telling me. He was talking about the Nicolaitans, this pedophilia, the using of and abusing of little children, offending these little children by using them as sex objects. So interesting. Anyway, all that to say, okay, now the dream I had. Like I said, we're bringing down giants, but we have to use stones. We are past the age of grace where we pat everybody in the back and say, it's okay, we forgive you. let's turn the other cheek and we'll give you another chance. It's getting past that. We're beyond that, people. We're now at the place of ruling with a rod of iron. We're moving into a new dispensation, and we as Christians have to move with it and understand that we are moving into a new time. Why? Because Babylon has offended the little ones. They have offended the little ones, and God is up to here and past up to here with this evil that these people have been up to. The dream I had. Okay, let's get to the dream. So in this dream, it was very disturbing. I was extremely disturbed by this dream. Excuse me. Still getting over the flu symptoms. Like I said, I had this dream 3 weeks ago, and I really didn't want to give you this dream because it was so disturbing to me. In this dream, I was given charge of a little baby. A small baby, like a newborn, was given to me, and I was holding it. I was told I was going to look after this baby. I needed to look after this baby. It wasn't my baby, but it was somebody else's baby, but I was told I was going to look after this baby. And as I was holding this baby, this desire to hurt the baby came into my heart, came into my mind. And I was thinking, I wanted to hurt this baby, but in the same time, I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to hurt this baby. There was this conflicting feeling inside of me that says, I want to hurt this baby, this urge to hurt the baby. And yet at the same time, my heart was crying out, I don't want to hurt the baby. And then as I was holding this baby, I was continuing, I don't know how long this lasted, but I was holding the baby. And finally, I cried out to the Lord. I said, Lord, I don't want to hurt the baby. I don't want to hurt this baby. Help me. I don't want to hurt this baby. And then that's when the dream ended. So as you can understand, I was quite disturbed when I woke up from that dream. And it was very disturbing. It's not the first time the Lord has put on me the feelings of his church or what the church is going through, and what the church has to defeat. This is the spirit of Leviathan. This is the spirit of pride. This is the spirit of the dragon. It's the spirit that needs to be defeated with stones. It has to be brought down with the mighty millstone upon its head. Interesting, the Antichrist is hit or has a head wound. And that reminded me of Abimelech. The head wound that brings down Abimelech was on a millstone. So this is the millstone that brings down Leviathan in our countries, in our land, is when we bring down the abortion rules and laws that allow people to kill babies and to offend these little ones. See, hope you're seeing what I'm saying. This is what finally defeats the spirit of Babylon, is when we can bring down that evil. And what the Lord was showing me in that dream was the church was participating, had been somehow implicated or part of this spirit, has allowed this spirit of Leviathan, allowed this spirit of abortion, allowed this spirit of offense of the little ones, of the Nicolaitans, into its church, into the church. But the church is now crying out, Lord, I don't want to offend these little ones. I don't want to. And in my dream, I cried out to the Lord, I don't want to do this. So the church is now going to be healed. I believe this is what the Lord was showing me in this dream, that he is now going to step in and heal the church of this evil. He's going to come against this evil that has been in the church, that has allowed these evil laws to infiltrate our governments and to allow people to abuse these little children. The dream that my sister had about defeating her enemy, and in this dream that she had, I will just briefly tell you about it, although it's not my dream to tell. I will tell you briefly about what she told me, and it was a spirit of murder. It was a spirit of murder that was come against my sister, and in this dream, she defeats this spirit of murder. And I've told you before, my sister represents, when I see her in dreams, she represents the church of Pergamos. The Lord has just shown me through had all these sisters, and he was showing me that when I see certain people in my dreams, they represent certain things, represent churches and people groups and such and such and such. So anyway, she defeats the spirit of murder that's in her church. So I think she's showing me that the Church of Pergamus, the spirit of the true Church of Pergamus, will defeat the spirit of murder of the Nicolaitans, which God hates. Um, so uh, anyway, I just thought that was really interesting. I had to bring this to you. Um, like I said, it was disturbing and yet hopeful at the same time. It was a hopeful dream. I was disturbed by the dream that this spirit is in Christ's bride, and he has to get it out, because why? That is the final stone that nails the coffin on the head of the dragon. We have to defeat it. And I remind you of these little figurines the Lord gave me as representation of the church, the churches. This is the Church of Philadelphia, and each one of them is holding a baby. The church of, I mean, the spirit of the woman, Revelation chapter 12, she gives birth to a baby that rules with a rod of iron. This is a new dispensation she's giving birth to, a new thing that the Lord is bringing into the church. We are no longer to be, forgive and forget every little thing. And it's not going to be like that in the future, people. We're moving, in order to bring down that dragon, we have to start throwing stones at those giants that have corrupted our land. We are moving from that place of grace to you, and we all forgive and forget, and we're all moving on and sing kumbaya while you rape and pillage and steal of all of what belongs to us. And like those two dreams, I had them in one night. Those two dreams I had in one night. One was about those things that have been stolen from us, the return of what belongs to us because of our labor, because of what belongs to us, of what the enemies of the church have stolen and taken from us, that we are going to get our back pay. And then also this dream where I had about the baby, that the church is crying out, we don't want to hurt this baby. We no longer want to be participating in this evil, which is called abortion. Okay? So like I said, it was disturbing, but also hopeful. So I put that off for the last 3 weeks, and plus, like I said, I was sick. I didn't really want to make any videos while I was really ill, but I felt I needed to get this out, this prophetic word, and so that's it. Okay, I hope that you've gotten something from all this, and it's good to be back, and God bless you, and I'll talk to you later.